Welcome back to the Milestone Moment, where we interview top producing agents, learn their story and how they got into real estate. Today, however, we're changing it up. Today we have Shea Robinson with Real Producers. He interviews top producing agents. Shea, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me. This is great.
So tell us a little bit, we'd love to know your background and how you got into owning the magazine and publishing and Real Producers in general. Tell us about your story.
Yeah, so obviously what we do is very niche in the real estate business, but my wife started with a company that ran neighborhood publications and was trying to pull me into the business the whole time. And I was like, no, that's for you, it's not for me.
Sure.
And then Real Producers came along and somebody else was running it, and we kind of saw that there could potentially be an opening in the future. And I did have my license at one point back pre-market bust, in 08, got my license. So I had some familiarity with the business and ended up taking over the publication in 2019. Been doing it about 6 years. The model is we feature and distribute to the top 500 real estate agents in King and Snohomish County. And they earn the right through their production to receive the publication. And we run events to bring together both these agents and the partners, such as you, to help build relationships. And that's really the goal of the platform.
Now, you've done an amazing job growing it in this area. I'm actually involved in other markets, and it's not the same as what we see here. What does a day look like for you in order to continue to grow the brand here and connect with more agents? What's that look like?
Yeah, no, good question. I think the majority of it is I'm either meeting with new agents to try and kind of garner new relationships. But as we know in this business, you also have to nurture the current relationships you have. And the more agent engagement I have, the more people are going to want to be part of what we've created and the community that we've created. So I would say a typical day, don't love it, but a lot of Zoom meetings is usually what my day results in.
A little bit different than pre-COVID maybe.
There is that efficiency level to it now, and I think a lot of us have adapted that. But I'm either meeting with current partners, new agents that I'm meeting for the first time about content in the magazine, or potential new partners that could be, see if it's a fit or not. And then I'm, going to events and supporting other agents' events or other partners' events, and just trying to be immersed in the real estate kind of community here.
I love it. And you throw some amazing events. Super impressed with how the organization and kind of the growth of those events as well. Now, you've got obviously featured agents, rising stars. How do people get involved in the magazine? How do you pick those? Obviously production is a big part of it. Is that, tell me a little bit about that process.
Yeah, that's another good question. I think there are a lot of mediums out there that are, especially in real estate, that are pay to play for agents. And that's like our biggest differentiator, is that agents cannot pay to be featured. They cannot pay to have an article on the inside, and we don't even let them pay for a subscription. So every 12 months, we pull the last 12 months of production. That determines our distribution list. And if we're being honest, there's a site agent that, just sits there, probably isn't a good fit for what we're doing.
And you filter out. That's amazing.
So we filter those out. And then really to be featured, you also have to be nominated by a peer. So that can be nominated by another agent that, I get a text thread, hey, I want to nominate this agent for a feature. They have a great story. They give back whatever their story might be. Or it's somebody that's a vendor that, works very closely with an agent, and they love working with that agent and they want their story told. And so I think that's the really fun part about what I get to do is, yes, we are only going to the top 500. And so last year's cutoff was 23 million in volume. And that varies every year depending on how the market's doing. But the second part, of which I think is the more important part, is I'm not just going down the list and saying, you were number one last year, you're January, you were number two. There is a nomination factor where we want people that have earned it through not only their production, but the relationships that they built as well.
I love that. Now, the show, the milestone moment, typically is the moment that it all changed for you in real estate. But I'm sure there's a milestone moment with Real Producers and the growth, and tell us a little bit about
I
that.
think it was when you finally answered my phone call. It's probably what my milestone, it only took a little over a year.
Right. It was a tough one. A tough call.
No, I mean, it's part of the business. Honestly, when I think about my moment, was, and ironically, and this could happen for a lot of people in real estate, but when COVID hit, our model is built on events and face-to-face interaction, and I think a lot of people in real estate had that pause of like, am I still going to have a career? Wow. Am I going to, for me, am I still going to be able to do this?
Yeah.
And I remember my wife telling me, like, you either have to like go all in and figure out how to make this work, or
do something totally different,
or pivot.
Yeah.
And so I think a big part of COVID was, you couldn't do all those face-to-face events, and for a lot of vendors, going to the brokerage morning meeting and buying coffee and donuts, or going to the networking events that everybody was doing, those went by the wayside. And so we actually got a lot of agent engagement because they couldn't go anywhere other than their listings.
Right.
So I ran, those silly Zoom events like everybody else did with separate rooms and breakouts and all that. But I do think a big part of it was turning around what the publication was before, learning kind of the nuance to it. And then the more relationships you built, the more engagement you built. So I do think whenever I think about that moment was, probably 4 or 5 months into COVID, and having kind of that
is this a thing,
ultimatum. Like I'm either going to do this and lean into it and go all in, or it's not going to work. And we ended up, gaining a bunch of partners and came out of COVID, way better, than we were before it started.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
So we're towards the end of 2025, obviously on the edge of 2026. Anything that you've either added to Real Producers this year, or that you think you're going to do next year that you're excited about, that's going to kind of maybe be a game changer for the publication?
Yeah, I think a lot of people, you're always trying to fine tune your systems. Yeah. We now have some websites that are being built that's going to have a lot more of a digital footprint for the magazine and our partners, and some more public-facing kind of dynamic, but also agents and looking at, past features, past events. I think those are probably the biggest things that, I'm excited about adding that.
Yeah.
And then, in my business, for what I do, I'm always looking at different types of events that we can run that bring value. And so planning out what 2026 is going to look like, having some fun with it. We're looking at doing an event in Seabrook. We did an event in Suncadia last summer, and very unique atmosphere for a real estate event, know. And we're going to do something similar in Seabrook that's going to have a clock hour class, and on top of kind of those masterminds, and we'll do another nonprofit event. So I think, I'm always looking ahead at how can if people are going to take the time out of their day or their evening to come to one of our events, I want there to be value there. So we're always looking into new ways to bring kind of up the value in those events.
I love it. Now, you obviously are similar to me, interviewing agents all the time. Is there anything that you see in the market, or an idea that agents feel is going to be like? What's your crystal ball for next year? Any thoughts on?
Well, yeah, like any agent, I'm going to say the typical, I don't have a crystal ball, which I think I've probably heard over 100 times, over 100 times easily at this point.
Yeah.
I think that, everyone has been so tied to rates, and this is typically when it gets slower and people might pull back a little bit. But I do think it's hard not to have optimism about, Q1 and 26. And, if rates can drop a little bit, I think there's so many people were on the fence in 2025 and even part of 24 that it's hard not to have a little bit of optimism about. And I think if you're in this business and you're successful, that you should be optimistic, because if you have, the negative, glasses on, like, oh, it's not going to get much, like, that might be the reality, but that can't.
Not infectious. Nobody wants to be around you anyway, right?
That can't be your mindset, right? So sure. I think I'm always excited about a new year, new opportunities,
I love that.
And meeting a lot new, more new agents, and seeing what people have created, going forward.
Now, we're lucky to have some newer agents that watch this show. You've interviewed so many top producers. What is the one thing that you think they all possess, or something that you think is their secret sauce that you've noticed is a running theme with top producers?
Oh man, that's a loaded. I mean, I could write a book just answering that question. I think with the amount of interviews I've done, I honestly think, and I think so many agents are that, you know, because I'm in this very unique spot of I'm only really interviewing successful agents, and not the agent that's like, I don't know where my next deal is coming from.
Right.
I don't know if this is the right business for me. So I'm in a unique spot.
Yeah.
I think the one thing that really good agents gloss over is when I get to learn about the beginning of their career and where they are at that time. And it's like, oh, I did, 8 to 10 my first year, and then my third year went pretty well. I did about 48 deals, and it's like, how? Why? And I do think that there is the way people and human are just built. Mm-hmm. There is an element of hard work and discipline that the people that are function like that just do it innately and naturally, and they that's how they're built. Mm-hmm. And there are other people that it is learned and they have to be disciplined. They might have to hire a coach, and it just doesn't come easy. But I do think the work ethic and that consistency is what sets kind of a real producer apart from somebody that they might think that they're doing all the right things, but there is just this other level of how often you have to show up, what you're willing to do on the nights and the weekends, and being there for your clients and getting your systems dialed in, and how are you marketing yourself. And I just think that, your kind of typical real producer agent just has that built into them and just does it. Yeah. And there is typically a 30% turnover on our list every year, so it's not like it's a given. Right. But I, now having done this for 6 years, there are the names on there year in and year out, month in, month out, that just have that extra gear that they can always reach. I love it. Now, for somebody that wants to be featured as maybe a rising star, is that somebody has to be nominated in, or should they reach out to you or find somebody in your Facebook group that knows you and then reach out? What's a good way for somebody to kind of get in your network or sphere of people? Good question. So typically our rising star criteria is somebody 5 years or under, good trajectory in their business, and yes, they do have to be nominated by, they can be nominated by another agent in general. It helps if it's a real producer because it has a little bit more weight. And I've interviewed rising stars that were in the corporate world for 15 to 20 years. We're over the hierarchy of that kind of business and decided to get into real estate. And then in their third year, they did 30 million in volume, and now they're on the list. And so to me, there's not just this one rising star that has to be young and just out of college and got their license. But I will say, the nomination part with rising stars is huge. Anyone that's that early in the business, it's pretty hard to crack that top 500 list unless you were really killing out of the gates, or you might be on a team. And we could talk about Zillow Flex and leads and all that stuff. And there is a little bit of a dynamic to dive through there, but we're really looking for people that are, their name has been brought up by another top producing agent, and they do have that growth in their volume year in and year out, whether they're in year 2, 3, 4, or they're in that 5th year, and they've really starting to kind of, get their legs under them. Yeah. That's kind of our typical rising star feature. I love it. Well, you've been a fantastic guest. Any parting words that you would like to finish your interview with? Anything you want to pass on? No, I would say, the more agents that I engage with, even if you're not sure if you're in that, you're on that list, or if you want to be part of it, yes, it's top 500. I'm not like, oh, sorry, you're 501, better luck next year. They can come to an event, I assume, right? Yeah, our larger events, there's space. And I'm always looking to connect with more agents, whether they're involved with a nonprofit, whether they might have an incredible story, or they could be doing it for the last 30 years and maybe they won't want to be at the peak of their business, but if their name gets brought up. So the more agents that I can connect with, it makes my job easier. And the more people I know, the better I can do my job. So I'm always looking to connect with new agents and build new relationships. Yeah, well, thank you, Shea, for all you do for the community and the real estate industry as a whole. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thanks, Adrian.